way of learning English. Elara harbored a secret dream, a fervent yearning to truly master English. Not just any English, mind you, but the elegant, melodious British kind she adored. She envisioned herself chatting fluently in London cafes, understanding every witty remark. This dream, however, often felt incredibly distant, a daunting, insurmountable linguistic mountain ahead. Her initial efforts felt sluggish, like wading through thick treacle. Textbooks piled high, grammar rules blurred into an indistinguishable mess, and vocabulary lists stretched endlessly. She questioned her approach daily. Was there a better way of learning English? A more effective, less frustrating path towards genuine fluency? One afternoon, scrolling through online forums, she stumbled upon a simple yet profound truth: why reading is so important. It wasn't just about comprehension, it was about immersion. Reading British authors, articles, and even news online could unlock patterns, idioms, and natural phrasing she desperately sought. This revelation sparked hope. Elara decided to commit wholeheartedly to extensive reading. She devoured novels by Jane Austen and modern thrillers, British newspapers, and captivating blogs about British life. Each page introduced her to new vocabulary and context, reinforcing grammar unconsciously. Her understanding of sentence structure and common expressions deepened significantly through this consistent daily practice. Yet, reading alone wasn't enough, she soon realized. The spoken word remained a formidable barrier. Her mind could form perfect sentences, but when it came to actual speech, her tongue felt tied. The familiar advice echoed in her head: why you should practice speaking. It was terrifying, but undeniably crucial for progress. The fear of making mistakes paralyzed her. I don't want to make mistakes, but I always do. Why? This thought haunted her every attempt. Every stumble, every mispronounced word felt like a public failure, a glaring spotlight on her perceived inadequacy. Overcoming this deep-seated fear became her next significant hurdle. To tackle this, she started small, focusing on how to improve your English in subtle, less intimidating ways. She began by talking to herself, even whispering observations while alone in her flat. It felt silly initially, but gradually, this private practice built a fragile sense of confidence within her quiet space. She adopted a method she called silent conversations. While doing chores or walking, she'd narrate her actions in British English, describing surroundings, imagining dialogues. This simple technique, how to talk at home to yourself, proved invaluable. It allowed her to experiment with phrases without the pressure of an audience's judgment. Remembering words was another persistent challenge. She'd learn new vocabulary, only for it to vanish from her memory days later. Online resources suggested various techniques for how to remember words. She tried flashcards, but context seemed to be the missing key, making rote memorization largely ineffective for long-term retention. Elara discovered the power of spaced repetition coupled with contextual learning. Instead of isolated words, she focused on phrases and collocations found in her British readings. She created mental images or short, memorable sentences for new vocabulary, actively reviewing them at increasing intervals. This method significantly improved her recall, cementing words. Armed with a growing vocabulary and a slightly bolder spirit from her self-practice, Elara knew the next step was inevitable: real conversation. She searched for online language exchange partners, specifically seeking those speaking British English. The thought of speaking with people filled her with simultaneous dread and excitement, a thrilling paradox. Her first few video calls were predictably awkward. Stumbling over words, pausing too long, she felt the familiar blush creep up her neck. But her partners were patient, understanding that everyone starts somewhere. They often echoed the sentiment, "Let's talk in British English," encouraging her to embrace the specific nuances. She learned the invaluable lesson of how to talk to people in pairs. It wasn't about perfection, it was about communication. Focusing on conveying her message, even imperfectly, became more important than flawless grammar. Her partners would gently correct, but never criticize, fostering a safe and supportive learning environment always. Each conversation, no matter how short or halting, chipped away at her fear. She started viewing mistakes not as failures, but as crucial signposts on her learning journey. "I don't want to make mistakes, but I always do," transformed into "mistakes happen, and they teach me." This mindset shift was revolutionary. She immersed herself in British podcasts and television shows, not just for entertainment but for listening practice. Mimicking accents and intonation patterns while talking to herself at home further refined her pronunciation. This active engagement with authentic language helped bridge the gap between understanding and producing fluent speech naturally. Elara began consciously incorporating new British idioms and slang she encountered. Instead of just understanding them passively, she actively tried to use them in her self-talk and, eventually, with her language partners. This proactive approach made her language more natural, more genuinely British English in its flavor and cadence. She realized that true fluency wasn't about eradicating all mistakes. It was about confidence, about the ability to express complex thoughts and feelings without crippling hesitation. The way of learning English was less about a linear progression and more about an organic, spiraling growth, embracing imperfections always. Her reading habits intensified. She wasn't just reading for new words anymore, she was reading to understand cultural contexts, subtle humor, and the unspoken rules of British communication. This deeper comprehension made her conversations more insightful and enjoyable, enriching her linguistic journey profoundly. The act of talking to people in pairs became her favorite practice. The immediate feedback, the natural flow of conversation, and the shared joy of communication far surpassed any textbook exercise. These interactions transformed abstract rules into living, breathing language, making learning an engaging, dynamic experience. She started noticing her own progress. Sentences formed more readily, vocabulary surfaced without conscious effort, and her accent began to sound less forced, more authentic. This tangible improvement fueled her motivation, pushing her to dedicate even more time and energy to her language studies consistently. The fear of "I don't want to make mistakes" slowly receded into a manageable whisper. She understood that every native speaker, even in their mother tongue, sometimes stumbles. Perfection was an unrealistic goal, effective communication was the true prize she consistently sought and achieved through perseverance. Elara even found herself correcting her own minor errors during self-talk, an indication of her developing linguistic awareness. This self-correction mechanism, honed through consistent practice, proved incredibly effective for reinforcing correct grammar and pronunciation patterns independently and efficiently. The question how to remember words transformed from a source of anxiety into a playful challenge. She experimented with linking words to vivid imagery, creating silly stories incorporating new vocabulary. Learning became a creative endeavor, not a monotonous chore, making retention fun and highly effective. Her evenings often concluded with Elara engaging in a lively self-dialogue, sometimes even role-playing imaginary conversations. How to talk at home to yourself had become a cornerstone of her routine, a safe space to rehearse and refine her spoken English without any external pressure whatsoever. She truly began to understand why reading is so important for developing intuition. The sheer volume of exposure to correct English sentences allowed her brain to internalize grammatical structures naturally, without having to consciously recall abstract rules from a textbook, building innate understanding. This intuitive grasp, nurtured by extensive reading, then seamlessly translated into her speaking ability. Phrases she had only read now tumbled effortlessly from her tongue, integrated into natural conversation. This organic progression was a testament to the symbiotic relationship between input and output, proving its efficacy. The process of how to improve your English became an enjoyable journey, not a demanding destination. Each small victory, each successful conversation, each new word remembered, added to her growing confidence and propelled her forward with renewed vigor and enthusiasm for learning. Her dedication to why you should practice speaking paid off immensely. The initial awkwardness transformed into fluid exchanges. Her articulation sharpened, her rhythm improved, and her ability to express nuanced opinions grew exponentially through consistent, dedicated verbal practice and application. She even started thinking in British English, a magical milestone that once seemed utterly impossible. This indicated a deeper level of immersion and fluency, where the language was no longer just a tool but an integral part of her cognitive process, a truly remarkable achievement. "Let's talk in British English" became more than just a phrase, it was her reality. She could now confidently engage in discussions about current events, British culture, or even complex philosophical ideas, embracing the linguistic subtleties she once found so intimidating and elusive previously. Elara shared her insights with others struggling with language learning. She emphasized that the way of learning English is highly personal, but consistent exposure, active practice, and a resilient mindset are universally beneficial strategies for anyone aiming for fluency. She championed the idea that why reading is so important lies in building a comprehensive mental library of correct English usage. It provides the necessary input that fuels accurate output, creating a strong foundation for both written and spoken communication proficiency. Her advice regarding why you should practice speaking was simple: start today, even if it's just 5 minutes of self-talk. Overcoming the initial fear is the biggest hurdle. Consistent daily engagement then paves the way for gradual, yet significant, improvement in oral fluency. For how to improve your English, Elara stressed the importance of a multifaceted approach. Combining reading, listening, speaking, and strategic vocabulary acquisition creates a robust learning ecosystem that accelerates progress and enhances overall linguistic competence effectively. She particularly highlighted the joy of engaging in Let's Talk in British English conversations. Discovering regional accents, colloquialisms, and cultural references through direct interaction made the learning process incredibly rich and authentic, fostering deeper connections with the language. When asked how to speak with people, Elara's wisdom was clear: focus on communication, not perfection. Be brave enough to make mistakes, listen actively, and ask clarifying questions. Genuine connection trumps flawless grammar every single time in real-world interactions. Her experience with how to talk to people in pairs taught her the value of reciprocal learning. Both partners benefit from the exchange, offering corrections and encouragement. It fosters a low-pressure environment conducive to experimentation and continuous improvement through shared experiences. Addressing the common lament, "I don't want to make mistakes, but I always do," Elara offered empathy and encouragement. She explained that mistakes are not failures but stepping stones, vital data points indicating areas for growth. Embracing them is key to progress. On how to remember words, she advocated for active recall and personalized strategies. Connecting new words to personal experiences, creating flashcards with example sentences, and reviewing regularly were her top recommendations for cementing vocabulary into long-term memory efficiently. Finally, for how to talk at home to yourself, Elara explained its dual benefit: building confidence and identifying areas for improvement without external pressure. It's a rehearsal space, a judgment-free zone where you can freely experiment with new phrases and pronunciation. Elara's journey underscored the profound connection between consistent effort and tangible results. Her once daunting dream of British English fluency had transformed into a vibrant reality, a testament to her unwavering dedication and smart learning strategies employed consistently. She became a living example of how embracing the learning process, even its uncomfortable parts, leads to genuine mastery. Her story offered inspiration to countless others who felt stuck or overwhelmed by the vastness of English language acquisition. The way of learning English, she discovered, was not a secret formula, but rather a holistic integration of various effective techniques, tailored to her specific needs and learning style. This personalized approach proved immensely powerful for her progress. She continued to read voraciously, understanding that why reading is so important extends beyond initial learning. It's a lifelong habit for maintaining and enhancing fluency, keeping her language fresh and nuanced, preventing stagnation over time. Her commitment to why you should practice speaking never wavered. She understood that speaking is the ultimate application of all learned knowledge, the true measure of communicative competence, and the most direct path to fluency, demanding daily effort. Her continuous exploration of how to improve your English involved seeking out new resources, diverse accents, and advanced vocabulary. Learning was an ongoing adventure, a constant refinement of her already impressive linguistic skills and capabilities. Elara's confidence in using British English flowed effortlessly in every interaction. She could discern subtle regional differences, appreciate the humor in distinct idioms, and engage in conversations with authentic charm, making her a truly delightful conversationalist. The joy she found in how to speak with people was immense. Connecting with individuals from different backgrounds, sharing ideas, and understanding perspectives through the medium of English became a deeply rewarding aspect of her daily life. Her advocacy for how to talk to people in pairs stemmed from her personal success. It offered a practical, low-stakes environment for active language production, allowing for immediate feedback and iterative improvement through direct interaction. The fear of "I don't want to make mistakes, but I always do" had been replaced by a healthy acceptance. Mistakes were simply opportunities for learning, not signs of failure, a crucial paradigm shift for any serious language learner. How to remember words became almost second nature, integrating into her reading and listening habits. She effortlessly associated new terms with vivid mental constructs, ensuring long-term retention and effortless recall during conversations, enhancing her linguistic prowess. And the private practice of how to talk at home to yourself remained a beloved ritual. It was her personal laboratory, a quiet space for experimentation, articulation practice, and continuous self-assessment, crucial for maintaining and advancing her fluency. Elara's journey exemplifies that mastering a language isn't just about grammar or vocabulary, it's about courage, consistency, and embracing the entire process. Her British English dream became a reality through relentless dedication and smart strategy. Her success was not instantaneous, but rather the cumulative effect of countless small, consistent efforts. Every book read, every word practiced, every conversation held, contributed to the remarkable fluency she now effortlessly commanded daily. She truly lived the motto, "Speak English, even if it's imperfectly." This willingness to engage, to try, and to persevere, despite initial awkwardness, was the ultimate key to unlocking her full linguistic potential and achieving her dream. Elara continued to inspire, reminding everyone that the journey of language learning is personal, rewarding, and endlessly fascinating. Her story was a beacon of hope for aspiring English speakers worldwide, proving anything is possible with dedication. Her dedication to constant improvement, coupled with her unwavering belief in the power of practice, set her apart. Elara's British English was not just learned, it was lived, breathed, and celebrated with every confident word she spoke.